welcome to another edition of Mrs. Cford Vlogs. If you are a frequent listener, watcher, viewer, whatever, you may have noticed that it's been a little while since I've made a last vlog. And I just want to start that out by saying sometimes life happens. We have things that become priorities, even though we want to come back to these other things that we're passionate about, and we want to be connected and help with our educators. It's okay to take time for other things in your life that need you. So that's just my intro there to remind you it's okay to take a break when you need it, but then remember to come back because you did those things for a reason. You were passionate about them for a reason. So remember to always circle back, take the time you need, and then come back to what makes you passionate and what makes you excited. So okay, here I am after a little brief hiatus, and I want to talk today about story cubes, but not your traditional story cubes. We've talked about those before a little bit too. I know Michael Matera does something great with story cubes. But what I wanted to talk about was how you could create your own story cube with a drawing. You have a dice template in there, and then you can use a source like Pixabay, which fantastic copyright friendly images. I know I've mentioned it in a vlog before because it is my go-to when I am working with teachers or students or for myself for images that I know are going to be copyright friendly that I can use with no worries, and a really great selection. So I can go to Pixabay and I can find things that are like clip art, but I can also find really good pictures, either paintings or photographs, things that you want in your classroom too. If you're that secondary education and you're teaching social studies, you can find images, historical images for your story cubes too. So let's talk about what you're going to do with them. In the template, which I will include with this video, look down below, you are going to be able to customize it you'll make a copy of the drawing, and then you'll be able to drag those pictures into it. But here's the reason why, first of all, drawings is so good for it. You can have one template, but in the sides and the margins of drawings, if you've never used drawings, this is your opportunity to go and check it out. I really find that it is probably my favorite Google tool and kind of the unsung hero. Underappreciated for sure. So in the margins of it, just like in a slide, you can kind of store things there. So when you have this one dice template with all of these pictures, go ahead and pull images that you think you might use for another content, for another lesson, for another review, for a topic coming up. Pull those images and keep them there and house them in those sides. And then when you want to print a different dice, all you have to do is go into that template and pull the picture out that you had in, drag a picture over that was in your margin. It's a great storing house for them. And you only have one document you have to keep track of, or one drawing you have to keep track of. Okay, so when you print it out, there's a couple different things you can do. Yes, you can use it and roll it and have your traditional story cube where you have to write something or tell something based off what comes up. You could make 3 of them and roll all 3 at the same time. And again, I know that I've talked about story cubes in the past, so I want to go past that and talk about how you can use them a little differently. So when you go past that kind of basic way of using them, you can actually have your students create those story cubes when you're using that drawing template, force a copy to them, have them as an assessment fill in that story cube, pull the images that actually go with that topic. If you're going to review it, if you're previewing it even, that could be how you decide what they know going into it. They pull those images, fill in their dice. You can have them, yes, you could stop there and look at what they did. You could project them and talk about them. But if you have them printed, they cut them out and assemble them, they could swap with a partner and roll the dice, and whatever comes up, they have to give a fact about that. Or maybe they keep going back and forth, and it's kind of like a battle. You have a timed battle. Whoever can give the most facts about what comes up is the winner of that. You could do that as a class versus like half the class versus half the class. You could do that in teams. So if you gamified your classroom and you have, like I always did houses with Harry Potter, if they were divided by houses, or if you had guilds or something like that, you could make it a competition between them. But again, it lets you get that, can be a formative assessment where you're being able to hear those discussions, see what they put in. You could also make it a summative assessment too, so that you're really looking at the knowledge that they've gained from that. As the previewing, you could have them work in a group, and in that group fill a dice with those images, and then compare the dice that all the groups did. You could keep these and then break them out and use them for review as well. So before, I've also done a vlog on that essential questions dice game. So easy to do. You could take those story cubes and kind of do the same thing with them. You could have story cubes that you've made for particular content that you've been studying, or a particular skill set, particular area. And when you roll it, based on whatever they get, they have to answer whatever essential question that you have set up on the board for them. That's a way that it can be, again, that review of that content. And they have to keep knowing it. It keeps being fresh in their mind. And then you get with that roll of the dice for their story cube, what their topic is. You could combine that with the essential questions dice rolling game, and you could roll your story cube, and then you could also have them roll the 4 dice to see the word count that they have to answer that question about the story cube topic. So again, really kind of limitless here, endless possibilities, so much you can do with it. You could also make one, and when you roll it, the whole class has to list off everything they know about that topic. Again, that could be a team versus a team, and they get 2 minutes and they have to list everything they know about it. Once again, that could be good previewing knowledge, that could be good reviewing. You can kind of dictate how that happens, but it's going to be something that's used over and over again. So I hope that you have kind of taken some new ideas, figured out something in your head where you're like, oh, I feel like I could use this right there. I was missing something, and now I think I can do this. Whatever it is, whatever idea you have, I hope that I have helped you figure out a new way to apply this story cube idea, the story cube concept. Template below, don't forget, feel free to use that. And check back. If you're already doing something similar and want to talk about your successes, I'd love to hear it. If you try this activity and you have feedback, maybe you changed something, maybe you had a new idea, or maybe you just want to talk about how it went. I'd love to hear about that. Leave it in the comments. And I hope you will join me again on Mrs. Cford Vlogs. Thank you for being patient with me in my little hiatus. If you are one of those listeners, viewers who comes back time after time, I appreciate you. I know it's been a while, but I promise I'm back. Thanks. Have a great day.